Good morning and welcome to the Morning Coffee Show. I'm Prince Hakeem.
I'm Amanda Love.
And today we have a really interesting topic. You may have heard this topic in other platforms, but we're going to touch on it today. It's Kanye West. And I want to add something to it. Kanye West and religion, because of this new album he has out right now. I'm hearing different feeds on that. Some people say, hey man, it's great, I love it. Other people's like, not too much, I'm on the pass. I'm actually one of those people, and I love Kanye. Like, I'm a Kanye fan. When I started producing records, I really referenced Kanye a lot, but I can't get with this yet. I can't get with it. So we'll talk about Kanye, and also want to talk about how religion plays a part in the pop culture and today's modern religion. Because Kanye feels that it's a new religion.
So as a disclaimer, I'm not, nor have I ever been, a Kanye fan, period.
Never?
Never.
Not even from the beginning?
No, never.
Okay.
However, I do think he's very talented.
He's a genius.
Like, when we're talking about production and musicality, I think he's talented. I will not take, like, I give credit where credit is due. I'm one of those people who, the people I like, and I'm one of those people who I have to like you as an individual.
Okay.
If I'm a fan, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Some things I can let go and just be like, we're all human, we have our stuff. Kanye, I just can't. I can't do it. I just can't. Ever since he did that little Taylor Swift thing, I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't let it go. He's just not an awesome person.
I love that though.
Human being.
I love that. I love the Taylor Swift moment. It was authentic. It was a little bit of showboat and he wanted to get some attention, but I think he was
MO.
right. I think he was right though in that moment.
That is his MO.
Yeah.
He is an attention seeker.
That's why it's hard for me to get with the Kanye West album right now because, and you have some really great facts about this, but he just released his album. We have to take a moment and consider the source. This is Kanye West. Kanye West released an album last year with Lil Pump. Do you remember that song? Has very...
What's the title of the song?
You're such a...
What?
F-N...
Yes.
H-O-E.
Oh, yeah, that. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And, yeah. So when did he start recording this album? Really?
Oh, Jesus is King.
Yes.
Started recording in August of 2018. Around the same time. Oh.
There's a song with him and Lil Pump was out.
Oh, okay. So he started recording Jesus is King.
Yeah.
Right around the time he released that.
He's such a fucking hoe.
Yeah.
It's the name of the record.
That. So this is the thing. And I said it before we started recording. I say it to my friends. I say it to pretty much anybody I'm involved with. Anyone. Friendships, relationships, be whoever you are.
Yeah.
I can accept a lot of things. Just be that person.
Just be consistent.
Be consistent.
Yeah.
Don't switch up. And I do understand that people have to be adaptable on different platforms, in different crowds. You know, sometimes you have to be professional. Sometimes you can loosen up. Sometimes, you know, depending on what you're doing and whatever, the environment. So I get that, like, be adaptable. However, I need you not to be two completely different people.
I agree. I knew this was going to be considered and accepted a little bit because remember now, Snoop came out with a gospel album as well. It was the #1 gospel album in the country.
Okay, but my thing with Snoop is Snoop doesn't pretend to be another human being.
He was Snoop in this whole deal.
You can be whoever you are and still say, I love God and I believe in certain things and whatever. whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? Like and even if we went into religious aspects or a different point of view when you're talking about biblical context and who people were in the Bible, like if we went that far, followers of Jesus, disciples, they weren't good people necessarily.
Right.
They weren't
You're talking
people
about
of
prostitutes
they weren't people of perfection.
Yeah.
They were, people stealing money, like taxes and the prostitute, like there weren't perfect people, and that's not what I'm saying. And I don't think that's the reason for saying I'm a follower of Christ or I'm a Christian or a Methodist or whatever. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is when almost overnight you go from representing one thing,
one extreme,
to the other.
Yes.
And you expect people to just embrace it and say, like, and again, you can be born again, you can be whatever, but
100% with that, yeah.
When you go from one extreme to the other in such an extreme way, people can't help but to say, like,
I'm skeptical of that.
I'm skeptical of, and the fact that not only is it extreme, but you feel the need to put it out there ASAP.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course, people could wake up one morning and say, like, my life has changed. I woke up this morning and something came over me and I feel like I've been saved, I've been redeemed, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not possible. What I am saying is when that is authentic, your first move is not, well, let me go tell somebody.
Yeah.
Let me put it on the news.
Exactly. And I'll give the credit to No Malice. So the clips are on this album as well. No Malice is on the album with Kanye West. And as all you know, shout out to No Malice, he's a really great guy too. And when I talked to him, we interviewed him on Famous Radio a little while ago. And No Malice talked about his walk with God, like how he transitioned from doing more of the, hardcore rap lyrics and talking about drug dealing and all that, to just getting right with God and starting his walk. He stepped away, did that on his own, and then when he came back, he presented it in another package. And I respected it because it was like, now that was the authentic part of it. I found myself over here in a different way, and I need to make sure that I'm following up on what I really truly feel and believe. You got some people out here like Mace that when he became a pastor, everybody's like, I don't know, but you see people that say, yeah, well, I'll support him. They had people that go to his church, had a mega church. Then Mace went right back into the music that he did before. Now people are like, well, wait a minute. It's people say that you can't, I had this argument with someone that said that you can't judge or condemn somebody from being one way and saying they're a Christian. I do believe if you're a Christian, you can be a Christian, do whatever you feel that you want to do, but when you're so convinced and convicted about how you feel about Christianity, there's rules to this game. Like, there's certain things as a Christian, you want to display as a Christian that other Christians looking at you like, you can't associate yourself with me if you're doing that. And I feel like, okay, if you're conforming to something, and you subscribe to something, understand that group of individuals may be putting you underneath a microscope. And
I was gonna say, just with that said, is like, if you understand the premise of what you're doing,
yes,
you have to also take into account that as an individual and as somebody that's already in the spotlight, people are going to look at you, people are going to ask questions. And when you do certain things, people are going to scrutinize you, they're going to criticize you, and they're going to ask for an explanation. Has to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people who, have lived a certain way for an extended amount of time and are just associated with certain things. What's his name? Devin Franklin, or he's married to Megan Good.
Yes.
And he is obviously, I don't know if he's a pastor or what he is, but I know they have a church and he's like really big into Christianity and there's videos of him everywhere. We've never known her like that. We've known her as an actress, right? There have been people who have even scrutinized her just for the way she dresses, the character she is, just because of her marriage to this person. And now, I respect them as far, like, he has done an amazing job with just being her husband.
Right.
And saying, like, I love her and I respect her and work is work and that's my wife. And she's an amazing woman the same way. Like, she has been able to separate, this is who I am. And when she answers those questions, that's why I like them so much. When they answer those questions, it's not a matter of like whether or not I should or shouldn't be explaining. They answer the questions and say like, this is who I am, this is what it is, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But I believe that Kanye West have a strong relationship with God. He does. He's actually shown this, and the fact that he says, I love God, and to be able to stand in front of the world and say that is a brave thing, and I respect that, and I promote that for him. He's been from the beginning saying that with Jesus Walk, that record. It was more commercial based, but he did it in a way where everyone can get behind that record. I'm not saying that Kanye couldn't do a gospel album. And I don't want y'all to get that twisted for me. It's just unexpected. So I don't go to Kurt Franklin for a gangster rap album. If Kurt Franklin came out with that song with Lil Pump, everybody would be like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, man. Wait.
What are you doing?
Kurt, what are you doing?
What happened?
We need to have a conversation.
What happened to you?
That's why I say, if you want to say it's okay for Kanye to switch a lane, be okay with Kurt Franklin doing that. Ty Tribbett coming out with a sexual nasty song like Tank. Like, be okay with those songs because we are accepting of that.
Like the little things, like if you hear about a pastor cheating on his wife, or you hear about a pastor in a strip club, everybody goes crazy. Yeah. Everybody like, oh my God, like they can't make mistakes, like they're not human.
Right.
But you take someone like this who's in the spotlight, and now all of a sudden it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's Kanye. It's just like how we do with R. Kelly. By the way, he has a new record coming out.
So
I'm not promoting R. Kelly episode. He has a new record coming out. I don't know if y'all want to listen to it or not.
So they've categorized the genre of this album as Christian hip hop. Released October 25th. So some of the people on the album: Benny Blanco, Labyrinth, Starlight, Mike Dean, Ronnie J, Timbaland, Warren Campbell. The Clips, obviously, Ty Dolla $ign, Ant Clemens, Kenny G, Fred Hammond. So, I mean, there's a lineup.
It's a huge lineup. I saw the lineup, but I was like, that was interesting. Yeah.
But like I said, my biggest issue with it is that one, you started recording in August of 2018. And at which point you were still working on a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't align with what you're saying, who you are right now.
But that's the thing too, Kanye. I'm a fan. I'm talking from a point of view of a fan. I go to Kanye for something, right? What you want me to believe, Kanye? What part of your message in your music you want me to believe? All of it? Or do you want to say, stop listening to that old stuff and get with this new stuff, because the old stuff I lied to you about? See, I believe Kanye when Kanye dropped the College Dropout joint. I believe Kanye when he did Through the Wire. I believe Kanye when he did the Runaway song. I even like the Life and Times of Pablo. He said in the interview, the Life and Times of Pablo was actually a gospel album if you listen to the tone of the album. But on the cover it had a girl with her ass out. See what I'm saying, where the contradiction comes into play? I'm like, Kanye, what do you want me to believe? See, the hardest part about an artist and people that have a voice, you have a following of people. And you have a following of people that are weak-minded, they can't think for themselves, and they will follow anything. So you say, hey, do this and stop that and do this. Kanye suffers from bipolar, right? And so that shows that he's acting out within that bipolar realm. And now what you're doing is you're causing that same confusion that's going on in your head with your actual audience. Your fans is going on that whole roller coaster with you. I don't think that's fair.
So, for those of you who don't know what bipolar is, bipolar symptoms would include things like extreme up and down, depending on what kind, because there are different kinds of bipolar. They might appear depressed at times, manic at times, elevated mood, grandiose opinions of themselves. So that would be something like damn near close to I'm a superhero, I'm amazing, which we've seen. Impulsivity, which we've obviously seen. So yeah, I mean, I believe it. He has said it. I need him to take his medication.
I need him to get some help.
So here's the thing, is that one, I think Kanye, and these are like our own, I don't want anybody to think like this is concrete. The information we have in terms of dates and stuff, it is concrete material. Everything else we're giving you is kind of like our opinions.
Yeah.
We watch, people who are spiritual or religious. You watch pastors, you watch preachers, and even when you look at that realm, you look at people, and some people go like the people you spoke about. Like, I love John Gray, I love Stephen Furtick, Ty Tribbett. Like, you can watch them, they're interesting, they're very dynamic, and it's very believable. I think regardless of the reputation or things that they've done or whatever, Carl Lentz is another one that I love personally. I think that the authenticity in those people, when they preach, how they preach, who they are as human beings, that is aligned with what they are preaching and who they show the world as an individual. Mm-hmm. If that was the case here, fine with that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Kanye, and I'm not scrutinizing every single thing somebody does, because like I said, people make mistakes, and that's human nature. That's not what I'm saying. But I think Kanye is an opportunist. I think that coming out, like how he was wearing a stupid hat, and he was saying something about people having abortions. Obviously now, he's pro-life all of a sudden, because and I truly think like that's how Trump got half the damn Christians that voted for him, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I think that when you talk about like how those things have played a part, he also mentioned the financial gain in terms of tax exemptions. A lot of people.
Remember, Kanye was just on public screen about his financial issues.
So I was gonna say, so he had openly admitted to having some financial issues. Now he can file taxes a certain way, and $68 million later, he is loving Jesus. There are just too many things that scream
wrong.
This is not authentic.
Like something's wrong.
This is not right.
Something's wrong.
Like, it shows. People are not stupid. Like, you're gonna, and don't get it twisted, because you're gonna have people, I think, in every like on every platform that are just fans, right? And like, I have been a Mariah Carey fan since I was a little girl. Mariah Carey could run up and down the street screaming butt naked, and she could be all over the news as Psycho, and I will still be a Mariah Carey fan. I won't comment about that, and I'll just be like, maybe she needs some help. She's going through some things. Cool. I'm a Mariah Carey fan. Die hard. Yeah. Forever. You're gonna have those.
Yeah.
For Kanye.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody's blind. And this is just not, to me, this is just not authentic.
It doesn't feel that way. Some people say it does. I think him getting some of the people he have involved in it. So we talked about who's
strategic.
Involved. Yeah, we talked about who's involved, but let's talk about who's not involved. There's people that could have been part of this, to decide to not take place or take part in it.
Okay.
Right? So it's not always about who went to the party. It's about who didn't go to the party.
Okay.
That's what you need to know when it comes to the lineup and the support behind this, because it could have been a lot of other people that could have been a part of this. There's so many people I could name, but they're like, either he didn't reach out because he knew they probably wouldn't get behind it, or he reached out and they're like, I don't think that's going to be for me, man. I appreciate the offer, but yeah, I love you to death, but I'm not going to do that one for you, you know? But, you know, when it comes to that with Kanye, I think we all agree, between me and you, this is something that doesn't feel right about it, but it tells another story about modern day religion. And I say modern day religion because it has changed and developed into something a little bit differently. We do accept things a little bit differently than what we have in the past. Traditionally, how the traditions of Christianity and other forms of religion, we are more tuned into what the popular belief of what religion should look like. So you have these other little strands of forms of religion, forms of Christianity. I believe that people are, as long as you have formed your own relationship with God, that should be the first thing. That's the first piece. Then everything else falls in line. So if you're not perfect, I think God respects that, understands that, because God knows you. God made you. You shouldn't want to feel like you need to conform, to go into a box with somebody, because that makes you feel good. What makes you feel good is that knowing that you have a relationship with God that is solely for you. I don't have to show anyone else how I love and how I worship God. I shouldn't have to prove to everyone that I'm good with God and God is almighty. I know that, and God knows that too. So yes, Kanye, if you wanted to sing about you such a whatever, right, with Lil Pump, you can still love God and do that. You don't have to go and conform to a situation to make people, but look, I'm a believer. That's cool. I think that we're in a society now, modern day, we do things to feel good. And I think that's where religion kind of ended up in. You go to church, some people go to church, I'm not speaking for all, but you may go to church for the feel good.
To say you went.
Some people, especially in like Easter, right?
To say you went.
Say I went and it felt
or traditional, good. Or being traditional for the sake of, you know, how many people go to Christmas Mass or Easter Sunday? Or those are things that sometimes are traditional, like family stuff.
Yeah, we always been.
Always did it.
Yeah.
So I'll read you this. West spoke at a listening party in New York, September 29th. He said, "This album has been made to be an expression of the gospel and to share the gospel and the truth of what Jesus has done to me. When I think of the goodness of Jesus and all that he has done for me, my soul cries out." He also invited Adam Tyson, which is his pastor, as of April 2019. Did you all hear that? Oh, he invited this guy to be present for the recording of the album to, quote, articulate the gospel more clearly.
So he didn't know. He doesn't know the gospel. He needed someone to
now,
that.
We don't all know the Bible.
We don't know it.
And I have told you openly that I see the Bible as a historical document. And it's not to say I don't believe in things, but I think the Bible is based on principle.
Right.
But if the Bible is what it is, man wrote it. We're not perfect, right?
Right.
And our perception of things is not perfect. And it's individual, right? I could be there, you could be there, we could share in the same experience, see the same thing, and express it differently on paper or tell the story differently on paper. So when you explain how things happen for you, that perception of it can be very different. So when I think about the Bible, that's the context in which I see it. You know, if a person writes it, you know, the book of whatever, that person experienced that story or that event.
Right.
And their perception of it is totally individual. The pastor giving the message from the perception of the story is an individual. And we are man and we're not perfect.
Right.
And our perception of it or our message may not be perfect.
Right.
And as a woman who does believe in God, I believe that your idea of humanity, like his purpose is not to give you free will so you can run around and say, God expects you to do this. This is how you're supposed to act. This is what you're supposed to be doing. No, it's not your job to judge. It's
Right.
not your job to run around and tell other people
That's
what they
not free
should.
will.
That's not free will. That's not your job.
Right.
Your job is to just be a good person
Yeah. Be the best human as you can possibly
that
be.
you can possibly
That's
be.
it.
And in the Bible, it specifically says, like, I got that.
Mhm.
I'm the judge. I'm the dude.
Yeah.
So if he is saying, I got it, when did it become your job to run around and tell people, like, you're doing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
So in this, it says that, what did he say here? This was the funny part. In the album, West asked people working on the album to avoid premarital sex. And was specific to, like, everyone must be growing in sanctification. Again, I will say,
This is somebody who's been promoting this. This is what I was getting at earlier. What do you want us to do, Kanye? Because you've been promoting that type of stuff your entire career. You have built your fan base off of promoting that type of stuff for years, and all of a sudden you took another turn and you said, well, I know what I told you. My bad. I was lost. Do this. He will hide behind, and most people do. I just put out music, man. I didn't tell you to do one thing or the other. But right now you are. In this album you are. You just said he asked people to don't do what?
don't have premarital sex.
Your biggest hit of the year last year was what? About what? So that's why I'm like, all right, man, I don't know where we're going with this, Kanye. I don't know what you're trying to convince me and others of. And I say me because I'm a fan. I always have been. I'm a huge fan. I think Kanye West is a genius. But this right here, my brother, I can't get behind. There's no way I can save you from this one. And I've been in arguments with people for the last week about Kanye and this album. And I'm like, look, I don't go to the drugstore to get a haircut. I listen to certain music for certain things. Kanye, you're not responsible for my spiritual guidance. You haven't proved to me that you even got your stuff together yet. And you want to tell me what I shouldn't be doing? I shouldn't have premarital sex? I shouldn't be doing it? Like, really, Kanye? Really?
My thing is just don't tell people what to do.
Don't do that.
If your life has changed, if you woke up tomorrow and you are born again, more power to you.
This is what I'm going to do.
More power to
Right.
you. And because you are the person you are and people are listening to you and people are paying attention, it is fine, completely fine to say, this is my walk with God. This has been my experience. But own that. Don't cause confusion. 2, take into account the fact that people pay attention to you, including children, teenagers, people that are following your example. So it's necessary to communicate this is how things have happened, because as a person who is a role model for people, you want young people especially to understand, like, no, this is not normal. You don't wake up one day and decide, this is my new life. It can happen, but it's not customary. It's not like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, admit the fact that this was my life yesterday, and certain changes have to be made to align with who I woke up as this morning.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like he has a unrealistic idea of like, hey, I woke up this morning and I'm this new person and everybody's supposed to love it.
Yeah, and you're supposed to accept it. I think he understands. I watched some videos where he's like, he understands that everyone's not going to get behind it. He knows that, but he knows there's going to be a huge amount of people that do. This is somebody that said that he felt like George Bush didn't care about black people. Then you throwing a mega hat with the current president, Trump. I just listened to a record, I can't remember the name of it, but he was dissing Trump in the record. It was like a couple years ago, one of his albums a couple years ago. He named Trump in the record and dissed him. Next thing you know, he has a hat on, hugging him in the White House.
I can't even understand how Christians align with Trump outside of the whole pro-life thing.
Right.
I still can't wrap my head around whole, like, I can't wrap my head around the whole thing.
Well, you got to break down what that looks like, and that's a whole nother conversation when we talk about Christianity. And I was just talking to someone on the way here, and it's like there's different sectors and different areas of Christianity and different. I'm like, there's only one God, right?
Take the one thing, like, I get it. I understand what he was doing, the strategic nature of like saying, these are principles that I stand on.
Yes.
These are ideas that I have. These are things that I will support and encourage and implement for the sake of getting voted into office. I totally get
that aligned him with certain people.
Exactly. I totally understand that.
He manipulated.
What I don't understand is, frankly, it's like disappointing that people are so easily fooled by one thing. You know what I mean? That I was raised Catholic, and then my family started going to like Christian, non-denominational type services, and I'm not even every Sunday, but I know good people when I see them. And that's not distinguished from like people that go to church every Sunday, people that don't, people that subscribe to a particular model or religion of something. Just good people.
Yeah.
My first question is not, do you believe in abortion?
Yeah.
Because if you do, I'm getting behind that.
Yeah.
Or if you don't, I'm getting behind that. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that a whole group of people will support something and negate everything else that you are.
Because the thing is, as long as you speak what people are, like the core of people. See, humans are very fickle like that.
Are you so pro-life that you don't care if they're a good person?
Absolutely, because people feel like if you can speak to my agenda, the core of my belief is this, right? My core is this, and you hit that core, I can kind of like forgive you for everything else because we can work on that. But the core of what I believe is you need to make sure that we don't have abortions. And you have the power to influence that. You don't have the power to influence the other things that we believe in. But at least this portion right here, I know you can pass a law to say this can't happen. So you can't force a law on people to say you got to believe in Jesus Christ. But you can pass a law to say no abortions. So that's where I think that Trump dug in and said, hey, this is the core belief for you guys. I'm going to do that. And that's where he got it. And they already knew he was a freaking idiot. But they said, what can you do for me though? If you're going to be in office and be an idiot, how can we benefit from it? And that's exactly what he did. So that's, I think when we look at Kanye, the relationship with Trump, now what he's doing now, it all kind of ties into each other because Kanye's an opportunist. He's an opportunist.
It's beneficial. And I totally get it. It's beneficial. I just, it's unfortunate, and I just wish, like, I remember when I was a kid, and I always go back to this because I really don't even listen to hip hop anymore. But I remember when I was a kid and hip hop was so authentic then. Mm-hmm. It was something that spoke to your soul. Mm-hmm. It was about how you lived at home, how your neighborhood was. And it could be like a me thing because I'm from the Bronx, so that's like hip hop central. Mm-hmm. But it was something that was embedded in who you were. Like, it was a part of who you were as a person. Yeah. And even till this day, those artists are for real who they were then. Yeah. It's this authentic nature of just human, like, I love hip hop. This is who I was as an artist. This is how this came about. This is the story. And that is who they are. Yeah. And if I turn on something that's Lauryn Hill, I know it's Lauryn Hill. If I turn on Jay, I know it's Jay. If I turn on Nas, I know. Like, those people are people that, when you go back and you start listening to things and then you compare it to what you have now, it's crazy. Like, Nas came out with an album in the past couple years, and if you listen to that in comparison to what he had 20 years ago, it's Nas. Yeah. And it's crazy to me that people today are so fickle. Like, they could just be this person one minute and a total different person the next minute, and it has nothing to do with who they are as an individual. It has way more to do with them just being an opportunist and riding with the wave and following a trend. And that is not what makes a real artist. And as talented as I believe Kanye is, I also believe that by doing things like this, and of course influenced by his mental health, absolutely. But I think that when you just switch up just to make $1, that there has to be some fan base that's lost in that.
I may be one. I know we gotta get out of here, but I don't want to feel bad for listening to the old Kanye and then the new Kanye right after. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's gonna make me feel so weird. I'm listening to the old Kanye and then the new Kanye comes up in the playlist too. Like, wait. That song actually told me I shouldn't have listened to that song. Mm-hmm. And it's by the same person.
I loved Mace when he first came out. Yeah. I was a Mace super fan when I was a kid. I was definitely a Mace fan. I was a Mace fan, Lil' Kim, Biggie, like all those people. Yeah. When he became Pastor Mace,
lost me.
I was like, I'm confused. Yeah. Like, it's confusing.
And then he moved away from that. And then he ended up right back in. Remember, he did a record with 50, and he was right back in there talking that Mace.
It's confusing.
It's like, oh man.
And you have a family. People are looking at you going, who are you? Yeah. And because back then, there was no question. It wasn't a question. Even if you look at people now, just like I just referenced Nas, even if you look at people, I'm not even a super fan of Puff, right? But if you look at him now,
he's exactly the same person.
He can't dance. He can barely rap.
Diddy can dance, man. Diddy got some dance moves. He was a professional.
This is how I always remember. Like,
Diddy has some moves.
He is exactly who he has always been.
He's openly talked about his love for God. Like, he's talked about that throughout his whole entire.
But he is exactly in terms of who he has been and how he has represented himself. Yeah. He's been consistent. Yeah. And I think that's my, like, in this, it's like the takeaway. It's like famous, not famous, big platform, small platform, even doing small shows like this, or you're on TV every day. Be whoever you are and be that person. And when people are watching you and people are watching you, if something changes, be open about the change. Because when people are watching, they're looking at you going, what the hell? And if that's what you want to be, in the meantime, you're losing people because you're a role model and because people are paying attention.
Yeah. Stay consistent. Well, thank y'all for watching. It's about time for us to get out of here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you go and subscribe to our channel right below here. Just click on the bell to get the notifications. Go like us on all social media platforms. On Facebook, The Morning Coffee, and on Instagram at The Morning Coffee Show. You can follow me on Instagram at P. Hakeem.
And Unmatched, Unapologetic. Yes?
Yeah, right here. She got it. Look, finally got it. All our stuff is underneath us here. So please go ahead and subscribe. And once again, thank you for watching. Until next time.